Welcome back to the Out of Bounds podcast. I am Gavin Williams alongside
Charlie Caleri.
And Charles. Let's take a step back today.
Okay.
All right.
Let's do it.
Let's reverse. Let's go back a decade. All right. 10 years. It was 2014, 10 years ago, believe it or not.
Oh, yeah. Fourth grade.
We were in fourth grade, and it was one of the craziest and historical NFL seasons that in the 2000s, at least.
Yeah, man, I remember sitting down on my couch with my family, watching Kyle Orton sling the ball for the Buffalo Bills this season. We went 9-7. We had a little bit of hope. We were in the hunt. That was big for us.
Yeah, that was a
big
great
for us
season.
for a little bit. I bet your dad said the same a lot when he saw us in the hunt. We were like, okay, we have a chance, but we never got in.
Never got in.
Never got in until we did.
That was kind of the opposite. There were many tears this
Yeah.
season.
There was.
A lot of tears.
Yeah. I mean,
But we'll get into why there were tears in the first place.
yeah, I mean, this was a great season. We'll run through it. We picked this season because it was about 10 years ago, and just because it was like kind of generations of football colliding. It was like the old and the new all in one season kind of coming together. It was just a great year for football.
It was an amazing year of football.
To start off looking at the season, let's talk about some of the key moments from the regular season, because I think most of the stuff that happened in this season was playoff.
Yeah, a lot of it
centric.
was playoffs.
Yeah, so some of the iconic moments from this season was the iconic Odell
Yeah.
3-finger catch against the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football.
As a rookie. He
As
was
a
a rookie
rookie.
this year.
Rookie year this year for him, Aaron Donald. I mean, this was a stacked draft class, offense and defensive sides of the ball. The Dez catch was this year in the playoffs. Dez no catch in the playoffs.
you just said
you know a little bit about that.
I do, but you just said
I did say it was a catch.
No, you said we'd run through it for the regular season.
Yeah,
We
I
just
know.
went to playoffs.
Yeah, I know, but yeah.
Let's keep it in the
but
regular
I'm just
season.
talking
We'll
about the
bring
iconic moments right now.
We'll bring up.
I'm
in
just
a
talking
little
about
bit.
the iconic moments right now.
Yeah, funny fact: Johnny Manziel scored his first touchdown.
Oh yeah,
in this, and it was actually against the Buffalo Bills.
fun fact.
Yeah.
Fun fact. J.J. Watt had a great year this year. Pretty sure he won Defensive Player of the Year this year. Pretty unanimously, I'm pretty sure. He scored touchdown. He caught a touchdown this year. I think he had a pick six. And he had 5 tackles, 3 for a loss, a strip sack, recovered a fumble, and caught a touchdown pass all within one game.
That's
in week
awesome.
11. And he was in MVP talks too.
He
I mean,
was.
one of the only defensive players of the modern era to be in MVP talks late in the season. So, iconic season from J.J. Watt right there.
And beast mode, he struck again. Everybody remembers that beast mode moment against the Saints in the wild card. Well, he did that again against the Cardinals in this 2014 year, as he went for a 67-yard touchdown, or 79-yard touchdown, excuse me. And he does his trademark leap into the end zone, little Michael Jackson looking thing, little grab of the crotch and the face at the same time.
Skittles go flying.
It was a great year for the Skittles.
Yeah, it really was. I was going to mention because the Seahawks this year were probably just the most popular team of all time. Everybody loved the Seahawks.
They were the defending champs.
They were the defending champs. Everybody loved the Legion of Boom. Everybody loved Russell Wilson, Marshawn Lynch. Everybody loved these guys. Mr. Unlimited, who just got released, by the way. So, I mean, very tough pill to
Broncos
swallow
country,
for
that's
Broncos
right, it's
country.
officially over.
Yeah, it is. But hopefully he can start a new chapter on a new team.
Maybe a Steeler run.
Maybe a Viking run.
Maybe a Falcon run.
We'll figure it out.
There's a lot of questions with
but
Mr. Unlimited.
Mr. Unlimited and the Seattle Seahawks were dominant in this season. This was just prime Legion of Boom too, or I guess the whole team in general. But the top teams from this year in the regular season were the Patriots. No surprises there. The Broncos were the 2 seed.
Speaking about the Broncos,
Yeah.
as Peyton Manning's NFL touchdown leader. He took over Brett Favre's career of 508, and it was only week 7 too. So Peyton Manning took over the touchdown
all-time
He
record.
was the king.
The king at the time.
At the time.
And then Brady obviously took over later in his career because he played for about 8 more seasons. So 9 more seasons. So very impressive stuff, obviously, from Tom Brady. The longevity that he's had just goes to show right here. MVP of the season, your guy.
My guy.
And the NFC.
Air 12, baby.
Yeah, they were the 2 seed because the Seahawks were the 1 seed this year, which we obviously knew that. We'll get into that in a little bit.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers put up one of the most historic years of his whole life. I mean, 2014 was a great year to be a fourth grader at Bradley Elementary. I mean, it was
Shout out.
shout out. But yeah, I mean, when you talk about an MVP, you talk about not throwing picks. One thing that Aaron Rodgers never did this season was throw a pick at all. I mean, this guy, well, he did obviously throw like one or two. I'll pull up the stats right now if you want me to. But
Yeah, do it.
I mean,
I was gonna mention
it's
some
better
other.
than 4 plays, you know?
Yeah, I mean the Packers this season they just had a stacked roster. I mean most of these rosters that were at the top, I think between the Patriots, Broncos, Seahawks, and Packers, these 4 teams, you could put their rosters combined and you could just have like an NFL all-time super team. Like it would just be stud after stud after stud, Pro Bowl after Pro Bowler. I mean, and then you got Rodgers here to cap it all off.
Speaking about Rodgers, I mean, Raj, my guy.
Big Raj. Discount double check.
I mean, he led the team to 12 wins. In this era, 12 wins was automatic 1 or 2 seed.
12-4.
12-4.
Two team bye.
Yeah.
At the time.
It was 2-team bye. He had 38 touchdowns passing and only 5 picks.
That's ridiculous.
That's MVP.
That's what is that, 8-1?
Yeah.
Close to it. I mean,
Yeah, damn near it.
7.8 to 1, something around there.
He threw for 4,381 yards. This guy was electric. All year.
Especially going up against those. I'll mention the Seahawks, the Cowboys, even the Lions snuck in the playoffs this year with a decent team. These teams that the Packers were going up against were no joke, and having to play the Lions twice in that season. I don't know what their
They
record
made the
was.
playoffs that year.
The Lions ran into the Cowboys in the first round. Did not turn out too well for them. But the Cardinals stuck into. That was kind of a shock, but the next season I think they went to the NFC Championship, I believe.
They did.
And then the start of the little Carolina Panthers, they were the 4 seed, slided in there in the NFC, but they were 7-8-1.
The Lions were 11-5.
Yeah, the Panthers were 7-8-1.
Yeah.
And they won their division as under 500.
It was a very weird
NFC playoff picture.
because the Panthers made it as the 7-8-1.
Yeah, and Eagles just missed out at 10-6, so they must have been pretty mad that the Panthers got in. But flipping over to the AFC real quick, so it was, as we mentioned, Patriots, Broncos, 1-2, both 12-4, but the Patriots had the head-to-head record against them in the regular season, so big there. And then the Steelers were the 3, Colts were the 4. That was always the top 4 usually in that era. Maybe the Chiefs would slide in there a little bit once in a while with Alex Smith. But
Killer Bees, man, this was like full
This
effect.
was the start of the Killer Bees, I think.
Bell was
Yeah.
coming in. He was solidifying himself to be one of the Killer Bees.
And then he got the Bengals, who were in the playoffs every year in this era, but they just never won.
Yeah.
They were the 5
They were
seed.
there for the show.
Yeah, and then the Ravens. I mean, this AFC North, it was stacked. Besides the Browns, who finished at 7-9, which isn't even a terrible record for the Browns in Manziel's rookie year. So
Yeah, this is when everybody had like huge, like high hopes for Johnny Manziel, Johnny Money,
and
Money
then
Football, baby.
I mean, if we're going to the bottom of the standings here, it was Titans, it was Bucks. This was the Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota year. This is a big year for QB. So you see at the bottom of this, the bottom 4 teams in the AFC, their records were 2-14, 2-3-13 teams, and then a 4-12 team, and then it jumped up to the Browns at 7-9. Those teams were obviously just going after the QBs, tanking, and it was kind of similar in the NFC too. I mean, we had Tampa down there at 2 wins, Washington at 4, Chicago at 5. I mean, it was kind of similar on the NFC side too. So
It really was.
everybody was just going after those QBs. But now, if we're getting into the playoffs now, or first of all, the awards for the season.
Yeah.
I feel like that's pretty important. Your guy, Aaron
Raj.
Raj, win an MVP.
Love that guy.
Odell took home Offensive Rookie of the Year, which was, I mean, the season that he had. I mean, everybody wanted to be like Odell.
Oh my
Everybody.
God. I'm in the backyard. Yo, Odell me.
Odell me. And everybody knew what you meant.
Everybody knew what you meant.
Everybody knew what you meant. I mean, you're playing at recess with your friends on the playground or right after lunch. Odell me.
Odell
Please. And I mean, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Aaron Donald. Right from the start, this dude was a stud. I mean, I feel like he was probably in consideration for Defensive Player of the Year in this year, but I'm not too well versed in that award.
JJ Watt was second in MVP voting that year.
Yeah. Yeah, well deserved.
Yeah.
Well deserved. And he was obviously the defensive player of the year that season. But the offensive player of the year might shock a lot of people because 2 seasons after this, he was not even on the team. It was DeMarco Murray, the running back for the Dallas Cowboys. They went 12-4, sorry, and DeMarco Murray was their guy apparently.
Yeah, and he's a Tennessee Titan legend right there.
He is, yeah. He had 1,845 yards rushing that season. An incredible year.
And in the voting for the Offensive Player of the Year, Rodgers was second, but he won the MVP, so obviously he wasn't going to win them both. But 2 killer bees were in this. Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown.
Yeah, Antonio Brown had 1,698 receiving yards. That's nuts.
In this time of football, if you got above 1,500, it was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he was doing that every season. Him and Julio for the Falcons. Because it was an era like this where with Calvin Johnson, Antonio Brown, Julio Jones. I got to be Des Bryant. Got to be forgetting some guys. I can't think of more wide. AJ Green was dominant in this era. Andre Johnson. I mean,
Jordy Nelson.
I mean, this was a great Demaryius Thomas. May he rest in peace. Who else we got there? I mean, just the list goes on and on. I mean, the wide receivers in this era were, I think, unmatched.
Yeah.
But hopefully this era wide receivers currently can overtake them with some of the guys they got there.
I mean,
but
we're looking at even running backs.
Yeah.
In this time.
Yeah.
I mean, even DeMarco Murray was a dog.
He really was. Yeah. I mean, even after he left Dallas and he went to the Eagles, he was pretty good.
So, speaking about running backs, I mean, Le'Veon Bell. Let's think about like this year that he had 1,300 rushing yards, and he had 850 receiving yards with 11 total touchdowns.
He did everything for that team.
I mean, that guy was special. I mean,
should we start a narrative of Ben Roethlisberger being overrated?
No, I'm not.
Should we?
That.
No, I'm just kidding. He was a great QB in his time.
Even
though he did some questionable things. He did some very questionable things, but he was a great QB.
And he loved the casino.
And he did love the casino. But getting to the playoffs here. So our first wild card matchup that we had this season was Panthers at home against the Arizona Cardinals.
Interesting matchup.
This is an interesting matchup, actually, because these teams were not good at the time. But the next season, this was a preview of the NFC Championship.
It was.
In Carolina, Arizona coming to Carolina, and it was basically the same result. Carolina won by 2 scores, 27-16 in this game. I don't really remember watching this game, but kind of interesting that they played the next year, and it was these 2 teams. But we had no clue. And then iconic matchup right here. Baltimore going into Pittsburgh and beating them in the first AFC game that was probably Saturday night, 30-17. I'm assuming Jacoby Jones probably had a touchdown in this game. He always found one in the playoffs.
He did.
And then, I mean, another wild card game here. Colts, Bengals.
Interesting matchup.
Very interesting matchup. As we said before, the Bengals usually never won their playoff game, so they lost this one naturally, 26-10. And then moving on to the final wild card game, it was the Detroit Lions getting in, but couldn't handle it against the Dallas Cowboys. They lost 24-20. Very close game. This was Matt Stafford's first and only, I think, playoff appearance with the Detroit Lions.
Yeah,
I believe they might have gotten him one more time. Actually, no, they got him one more time against the Seahawks. I think in 2016, around there. But still, he never won a playoff game with them, and this was, I think, the closest that he was to.
I remember watching
playoff game with the Lions.
Was great.
That was a great game. I remember watching that one. Yeah. So I mean, the divisional was great too.
We had one of the greatest matchups on a Saturday, and it was the Patriots and the Ravens in Foxborough. And the Ravens came in; they weren't playing around, but obviously the Patriots weren't either.
No, not at all.
Final score of this one was 35-31. I mean, that's just a shootout playoff moment. Tom Brady at his finest.
Joe Flacco was slinging the rock back in these days. I think Ray Rice was running the ball back there still.
He was.
He
was before the elevator, man.
He did some very questionable things. We won't get into that, though. Next game here was the Seahawks at the Panthers, which was also the next season they played.
They did.
A little interesting here. Carolina kind of running through the gauntlet. But I do remember watching this game because I remember they had the records on the TV, and I was like, how is the 7-8-1 team in the playoffs against the Legion of Boom, and how do they compete?
How are they home?
And they
No, sorry. How are they?
Seahawks
even
were
there?
home.
Yeah,
But
was this the Cam Newton?
this was
standing out the
this was
tunnel?
and this is why the season is more iconic too. This was Cam Newton's iconic. I guess there's like a it's kind of maybe a meme now or a GIF or whatever, but like it's kind of just him and then the Seahawks running out with the flames and the smoke, and it's just like
Such a cool moment.
It's 11 versus 1 basically. That's what that moment was, but Cam couldn't get it done. They lost 31-17 in this
now
game.
for a crazy game.
I mean,
Lambeau Field.
These next few games are some of the greatest NFL games of all time.
They are.
Of all time.
They really are. Let's start out in the greatest place to play football in the entire world, Lambeau Field. All right. Greatest stadium ever. Most historic franchise ever. How much better can it get on a snowy day in Lambeau Field in January? Come on.
Yeah, I mean, reminiscent of the Ice Bowl between the same two teams.
This was a cold game. I remember
Ice Bowl 2.0. That's what I think they were calling it.
And the Packers and Cowboys were going back to back. I remember this game as if I was sleeping on my couch yesterday. No, I wasn't sleeping.
Sleeping.
I'm just trying to make up some metaphor that I can't think of. But anyways, this was a crazy game. And I remember exactly who will have almost every touchdown in this game. I remember this one dude from the Cowboys. I cannot remember his name right now, but he wore number 83. He was a wide receiver. I think it was Terrence or something like that.
I'll look him up.
We're gonna get a fact check on my receiver I'm talking about. I did not know who this guy was, and he put up I think a touchdown or two in this game. This game was
Terrence Williams.
Terrence Williams. Yep, I was right with the Terrence. That guy was a dog this game. He had a couple tutties, maybe one or two. It was a crazy game. But the Packers, resilient in Lambeau Field come January, defeated the Cowboys. Crucial moment in this one, as we brought up earlier, the Dez no catch. And one of the greatest quotes from Dez Bryant, I was reaching for the goal line. He was reaching for the goal line.
He was.
But he didn't maintain possession when he was reaching for it. It's a no catch.
But he made a football move.
I don't care.
And this is where we get the football move from. This is one of the plays. I think there was a sequence of plays I think that were where catches were kind of questionable.
Questionable, yeah.
Yeah, so I think this is where the football move came into play. I think if that play happens in today's game, that's a catch.
No, they did review it, I think, after they made the rule. They said it was a catch.
Yeah.
But in the time,
according to the rule book, it was a no catch.
And I agree with it to this day.
I know you do. Of course you do. But what happened in the next game was not great. But we'll get into that in a second. First, the Colts upset the Denver Broncos.
That was crazy.
After a historic season from Peyton Manning and the Broncos. Ended up having a better one the next season. We just didn't know it.
Yeah.
But the Colts went into Mile High, beat them 24-13.
Andrew Luck.
Man. Absolutely. I mean, this is the moment, honestly, where we thought that Andrew Luck was going to be the next guy.
We thought he was going to be the next Peyton Manning. He took over his old team. He beat him in his hometown.
Yep. And then next game, Deflategate.
Yeah.
The Colts go into Foxborough. We know the whole scandal. Patriots were deflating balls before the game. Tom Brady was getting an extra grip on the balls.
Squishing it a little more.
His receivers were getting an extra grip on the balls when they were catching it. Everything they have to do to win, and they ended up winning this one 45-7. 45-7. How did we not question this before? The Colts beat a Broncos team that repeatedly would sometimes beat the Patriots in the playoffs.
And they had one of the best offenses in the whole league.
Of all time. Yeah, they were them against the Legion and Boom the year before.
That was the best offense against the best defense.
And defense won that game. So maybe a similar story in this game too. But I'll let you handle the next game here. Because that deflate game was – the game itself was not great because it was a blowout. But all that stuff with Deflategate, that could be a whole other episode. But, everybody knows the story about it at this point. So we're not really going to dive too deep into it.
I remember almost every single moment I did this day.
Really?
On Sunday, January 18th, 2014. I remember almost every single moment. Or was it 2015 at this point?
It was 2015.
2015 at this point. My dad and I, Sunday morning, a BWERUN. We go to this great old store called Beer Here out in Commercial Drive, New Hartford, New York. It's moved since then, but it was there then. And we're in there, and
Shout out.
we're shopping, and I'm looking up at the TV, and they're making all these Super Bowl scenarios. And we're in the radio, and all my dad are listening to are the Super Bowl scenarios. I'm like, Dad, wouldn't it be so cool if it was the Colts and Packers? I thought it was so cool. And history did not write in my book. It wrote in
It ain't
another.
right back.
Packers started this game off firing. 16-0. Never forget it. Just absolute domination.
We
Second
might hear
half.
some tears here.
Yeah. So, well, the play that changed the game, fake field goal. Seahawks down 16-0. Fake the field goal. Get a touchdown.
Who was that? Hauschka that threw the
Hauschka
touchdown?
threw the touchdown.
Bill's legend.
And from that moment, I'm sitting there, little fourth grader, not thinking too much about it until they get their next one. And it got to the point where the Packers were down in this game, fourth quarter. And it was over. Game was over. Aaron Rodgers, though, leads the team down the field. Historical drive. Cool. Seahawks get the ball. Mr. Unlimited, man. He was cooking.
He was. I mean, I'll say this too. I remember this game very vividly. I think this is one of the first NFL playoff games that I just remember watching like the whole thing through and being so locked in on it because, I mean, at the time, these two teams in this weekend, this whole weekend, I guess, was just so hyped up.
It was.
It was like
And it
this was
lived up
just
to
as
hype.
hyped up as Super Bowl week.
It
These
was.
four teams. It was awesome. It was like the Final Four. It was
Yeah.
everything, but just football. It was awesome.
And Russell Wilson goes down. He gets this cute little field goal. They're going to go for an onside kick now. Or maybe it was the touchdown and then the field goal. I'm not. No, it was the touchdown and then the field goal. So they're down by 3.
That was the fake field goal. It was Gillum.
Gillum.
Yeah.
Down by 3. Onside kick. And a man I hate to this day. Brandon Bostic.
Remember the name, folks. Say it again.
Brandon Bostic. That's a name Packers fans.
What number?
Ooh, great question. I think it was 84.
We'll get a fact check. Will
80.
you,
It's in the 80s, low 80s. I'm gonna say my over under is 84.5. I'm gonna take the under. But yeah, right through his hands. Seattle gets the ball, goes down, kicks it, ties it, overtime. Coin flip was the name of the game back in this day. And Seahawks won the toss. History wrote itself. They score a touchdown. I even remember who had what?
if you took the under, you're a loser.
What
He was
what?
number 86.
86. Wow, I'm a loser, I guess. All right, now I
Former
can see it.
Jet, by the way. Sorry.
So, I remember exactly that last play that happened. Russell Wilson down the field, caught, end zone. I even remember who tackled the guy. It was Tremont Williams.
Jermaine Kearse caught it.
Jermaine Kearse caught it.
Great wide receiver.
He
We'll
is.
talk about him in a little bit.
So Jermaine Kearse caught the game-winning touchdown. I remember Tremont Williams trying to tackle him, but he tackled him in the end zone. Tears run down my eyes. Get a phone call to the house phone. It's my cousin.
Oh, no.
He's a Seahawks fan.
Oh, man.
And he is just ripping into my fourth grade head.
Oh, man.
A lot of
gotta
tears
hurt.
that day.
That's got to hurt.
That was the year where I was
And
like,
that was the early game, too.
That
That was the first game because it was still light out in Seattle.
It was.
Yeah.
And I remember going into that Sunday afternoon, and I'm like, this is our year. I 100% believe it was our year. 100%. I've had a couple years like that. This one was like Rodgers MVP. year. I mean, this was everything. The whole story was written. They just couldn't write the conclusion. So, yeah, that game sucks. And I still see it everywhere. I mean, they'll be like, oh, 10 years. They did it. So, like, they'll do it next year. 10 years ago today. And it's going to suck. And it's going to ruin
Yeah,
my day. But it happens.
But moments like that are ones that you'll look back on, and it's even better when you win it.
Yeah.
And you look back and you're like, we went through all that, and that's what we deserve, I guess.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
Partially.
but I mean,
Partially.
looking at this game though, this is why you love sports.
Yeah, exactly.
It can bring you up, and it can bring you down.
All
your
within a
lowest
matter of
points.
an hour.
Yeah.
Or 10 minutes.
5 minutes.
A minute.
13 seconds.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay, that was a little bit far. That was
I mean, you could be in your highest of highs
Yeah.
and your lowest of lows in the matter of seconds.
And imagine that 4 times within the span of 2 minutes. It's not fun.
Or 4
not
times in
fun.
4 years back in
Yeah,
the
I know.
90s. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know what our dads went through, but
I know. But speaking of the Super Bowl,
I mean, wow.
one of the greatest Super Bowls of all time, Super Bowl 49,
In Phoenix,
Super Bowl 49 in Phoenix.
State Farm Stadium.
Do you want to guess how many people were at this game?
I will take a guess.
Take a guess.
I'm going to guess 89,521 people.
70,288.
Ooh, lower attendance.
Lower attendance.
Huh.
There were some more suites had to be sold.
Makes
Few less
sense.
people in the crowd.
Makes sense.
But regardless, we all know the Patriots won this game. That's not a spoiler for anybody.
Oh, yeah.
Patriots won this game 28-24. But we're gonna run through it right now because this is one of the greatest games of all time.
If not.
The greatest game of all time.
Yeah.
Maybe the greatest
I-
Super Bowl.
I like this one 1,000 times more than the comeback.
The Falcons game.
Yeah.
I still like the Eagles Patriots Super Bowl better
Oh, yeah, that was a good
than
one.
this one too.
That
I don't
was a
know
good
actually. We'll have to.
I'll take this one over the Eagles.
Let's
I
review
remember
this one. Let's
I
review
had a
this
Super
one.
Bowl square in this one, and I won.
Really?
Yep.
Let's review this one and then we'll see. We'll compare.
Yeah.
So we had technical difficulties. We recorded an episode earlier this week, and one of the players, it was a guess the player episode.
It was.
Unfortunately, probably will never. Maybe it will see the light of day.
We just the link loaded.
The link just loaded. Maybe we will see the light of day. But one of the players in that episode, I guess I'm spoiling it right now, but I think that episode will come out
It'll
first.
come out first.
Yeah, one of the players that scored first in that game was Brandon LaFell. He scored the first touchdown in this game, an 11-yard pass from Tom Brady. That was in the second quarter. 9 minutes
Such a
and
great
47 seconds left in the second quarter. And then we went all the way to the 2:16 mark of the second quarter in the Seahawks. Marshawn Lynch, 3-yard run. 3-yard run. Remember that. He can get it done on the goal line. Okay? 31 seconds left in the half. Gronk, 22-yard pass from Brady, 14-7 Patriots. Obviously, Gostkowski was hitting every extra point. Steven Hauschka was hitting every extra point.
These two were money.
And then, to end the half, 2 seconds left, Chris Matthews, 11-yard pass from Russell Wilson to tie the game right before halftime. So it's 14-14. Who was the halftime show of this game? I cannot remember
Ooh.
for the life of me.
I'll fact check that.
Yeah, I mean, but the Seahawks had a lot of guys that really go unremembered, I guess, in that offense because of Russell Wilson and Marshawn Lynch. Guys like Doug Baldwin, Jermaine Kearse, guys like Chris Matthews. I mean, Colby Parkinson, I think.
Katy Perry this year.
This was Left Shark year too.
Wow.
Left Shark.
And
So-
Lenny Kravitz.
I mean, this
Wow.
was honestly such an iconic Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Left Shark.
Was
Everybody's
this the one where she was on the lion? For
I think
Roar?
so, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
What
but
is- what
I remember
happened?
after that. Remember all the videos on Vine of the Left Shark, and everybody's making fun of Left Shark. But anyway, 11 minutes left in the third. Now we're getting back in the second half. 11 minutes left in the third. Steven Hauschka, 27-yard field goal. Seahawks take the lead. Seahawks fans feeling good. 17-14. Sorry. And then once again, 4 minutes and 54 seconds left. Seahawks touchdown. Doug Baldwin, 3-yard pass from Russell Wilson.
24.
And now let me say this. Doug Baldwin, 3-yard pass from Russell Wilson. 3-yard pass. Do you think that sets up what happens later in the
I
game?
do.
Because they scored one touchdown, rushing and passing, both from 3 yards out. And I guess we'll get into it in a little bit, but the iconic play that happened at the end. Does that happen if one of those or neither of those touchdowns happen? We don't know. Anyway,
That's a great question, man.
Tom Brady, this is where he's at his best. 8 minutes left in the fourth, he's down by 10. 8 minutes left in the fourth, he's down by 10. Nobody really remembers this, quote, comeback. 2-score game.
Yeah, I mean, nobody really thinks as like that comeback. You know, it's like, oh,
But-
it's like they were just down.
I mean, it really was, though.
It was. I mean,
So,
Yeah.
7:55 left. Danny Amendola, 4-yard pass from Tom Brady. All these short little dump passes near the goal line really set up the end of this game.
they really did.
So at this point, it is 24-21 Seahawks. Seahawks have the ball left with 8 minutes left. It's weird, kind of a weird time. They probably just want to run down the clock as much as they can and then get a stop with their legendary defense. That would have been a way more iconic ending maybe
I think if
than what we had.
the Seahawks win this, I think they're the new dynasty, and they might still be going today.
They might still be going. I mean, this is a what's it called? A butterfly effect kind of game.
Yeah, it is.
Because a lot of things happen in this game where kind of affected does Brady go as long as he does if he doesn't get as many Super Bowls? I mean, we don't really know, but regardless, Seahawks don't score in their next drive.
Yeah,
that's
was
big.
Huge.
Patriots get the ball right before the 2-minute warning. 2:02 left on the clock. There he is, most clutch. Julian Edelman, 3-yard pass on the goal line from obviously Brady to go up 28-24. And then you see Russell Wilson. They pan to him, put his helmet on the sideline. Marshawn Lynch, he's ready to go, taking some more Skittles.
2-minute drill.
Taking some more Skittles right before he goes out. These guys, let me tell you this, they were down by 4, but they probably had all the confidence in the world to go down there and score. And obviously they showed it. So this drive was one of the most iconic drives in Super Bowl history, in NFL history, in football history. Started off, obviously, 2:02, touchback from Stephen Gostkowski. I'm even including in the kickoff in this. First play, Russell Wilson, deep pass left to Marshawn Lynch to the New England 49 for 31 yards.
First play.
First play, right off the bat, 2-minute warning.
That's why I thought it was over.
2-minute warning. Now you're thinking, oh, my God, these guys are at the 50 with 2 minutes left and a free timeout. Oh, my God. And then Russell Wilson, incomplete pass to Jermaine Kearse. So they're trying to get on him. Malcolm Butler had a great play on that play right there. That was the first timeout for the Seahawks right after that because Russell Wilson threw another incomplete pass to Chris Matthews. So that sets up 3rd down from the 49. Now you're thinking Patriots are kind of in control of this game.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson, short pass right to Ricardo Lockett. Now they're at the New England 38, 11 yards. 11-yard pickup on 3rd down. It was 3rd and 10. So 11-yard pickup, obviously. 1-yard past the first down mark. That's a big play.
Huge play.
First down, no huddle shotgun. That's what it says here. Russell Wilson pass deep right to Jermaine Kearse. And it bobbled through his legs, bobbled on his body, on his butt, on his hands, helmet, everywhere. Ended up with the ball. Never touched the ground. He was never out of bounds. Shout out to the Out of Bounds podcast. He caught the ball, stood up. Nobody really knew, and I thought he was going to score.
I thought he was going in.
And I was like, this is going to be this is going to be the one that wins the Super Bowl. But no, gets tackled down.
At the 2.
He gets tackled down at the 5. At the 5. That was the 2nd timeout for the Seahawks then. And then 1st and goal at the 5. 1:06 left in the game. So it's crunch time. I mean, they already went almost the full length of the field in a minute. So that was big. Marshawn Lynch, handoff for 4 yards. Okay? So this sets up 2nd and goal at the 1. 2nd and goal at the 1. Just handed off to Marshawn Lynch for 4 yards. Gets tackled at the 1. Okay?
I can't take this seriously.
Russell Wilson drops back to pass.
Intercepted.
Looks right. Throws. Pass is caught. Intercepted by Malcolm Butler.
I never even knew who he was before that.
And the most underrated part of this play is not, obviously the interception was the big part of this play, but not going in the end zone. That's a safety.
Yeah.
Because he was out of the end zone when he caught it, and he went back in, and then he went back out. And then right after that, Patriots take 2 kneels. Game's over.
Brawl.
One of the most iconic reactions to that play from Richard Sherman, from Marshawn Lynch himself.
Going up to Pete Carroll and laughing at his face.
Russell Wilson, with the clap. I always remember the classic clap that he had, the unstrapping of his helmet. All the moments in this game, the Patriots just running around. I hate the Patriots.
About the brawl here.
Yeah.
Last knee, I watched this podcast with Gronk and Julian Edelman, and they said they were talking, like everybody's just talking. And Gronk's like, okay, bet. When that clock hits 0, you know there's going to be something.
Yeah.
Clock struck 0.
Because that whole game it was probably going back and forth.
Yeah. And they were just throwing some haymakers. I mean, once they did separate them, it was a nice little celebration, but that brawl was awesome. I loved that.
And it's crazy to think, because this is a truly moment of you never know if you're going to get back there, because we all thought, oh, this is fine for the Seahawks. They're going to be back. They were never back,
No.
and they've never been back, and they haven't been to the NFC Championship, I don't think, since. So,
No.
I mean, this game really changed the Seattle Seahawks franchise. It honestly might have changed Tom Brady's career.
I think it did.
This is just a pivotal moment, I think, in NFL history, and I think just the way that this whole season went, the iconic moments that we had, and it just ends like this. I mean, it was just perfect. It was one of the first seasons I remember watching. I think it was the second season I watched fully.
Okay.
Like Die Hard,
Yeah.
Bills especially, because E.J. Manuel was my first QB I ever watched, unfortunately. But that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. But this season I think was just great. That's why we wanted to recap it a little bit, and hopefully we can figure out some more seasons. Maybe you guys can let us know some suggestions for some more seasons you might want to see us recap and review and give our thoughts about, because we could do this with some good NBA season. We could do this with the bubble if we wanted to. We were thinking about that too. We've been talking about that for a little bit in the bubble and how it maybe affected the style of game today in the NBA.
Yeah.
But Gav, you got anything else for this season?
One of the greatest historical seasons ever, and it was a fun one to recap.
It really was. I mean, hopefully you guys like this episode. Something a little bit different that we're trying out, but hopefully we can get that other episode out to you guys too. The NFL Guess the Player. We're gonna have March Madness coming up, NBA and NHL playoffs coming up, MLB opening day. We got a lot of stuff, so just stay tuned. Make sure you guys follow us on Instagram
At Out of Bounds Podcast with a dot between every single word.
Yeah, yes, there is. Make sure to look on there for posts about episodes coming out, just anything that we really have coming out. Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Have a day.